Well, hey everybody, welcome back. And as promised, here we are on the other side of the mountain from where we were last week on that incline shaft. And man, oh man, I'm glad that we chose not to come up in here that same day, because this road was just nasty coming up in here. It's all busted up and washed out, and along the way I had some problems with old Bob. You know, you can look over here, let me show you something. You can look on old Bob, see how I'm still scuff marks on the tires, how I've been bouncing off rocks on the sidewalls. And then halfway up here, all of a sudden the right rear tire bound up and wouldn't turn no more. So I had to pull the wheel off. And by golly, if I didn't snap a brake shoe in half. Look at here, we got parts of brake shoe. There's what's left of it. Yeah. And there's pieces of some springs. So I'm gonna have to order a new brake shoe kit and a spring kit. And but it wasn't that hard of a trail fix. All I had to do was just pull the wheel off, remove the brake drum, and pull out all the pieces and parts, and then put it back together again, and we're good to go. Down the trail we go. But darn it, I guess I'm gonna have to give old Bob a maybe an oil change so that we can get back on speaking terms again. He's not too happy with me this morning. So where are we? All right, here's where we're at, folks. We made it this far. That's it. We've reached the capabilities of my Jeep without a lift kit. It can do a lot of things, but you see how the road goes down here in this wash? I mean, that ain't so bad. I could probably do that. But when it gets up there, over there on that saddle up there, that gets pretty darn nasty. So the mine we're going after is right on the other side of that saddle. So I thought, heck with it. I'll just park right here, avoid the wear and tear on old Bob, and I'll just walk up the hill and over the other side, and we'll head over to those mines. So that's where we're headed now. We're gonna go up this hill. So when we get up there, like always, if I find something cool, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna hit record. All right, folks, I'll meet you up there at the top. Okay, well, we made it over that saddle. And hey, good news, folks. See here? Hey, so even if I was to like bust an axle on old Bob, we got a spare one laying right out here in the desert. It even has the bearings on it. Ooh, and asbestos lined brakes. Yeah. Except there'd be a little, the ring and pin is gone. So the entire gear set's gone. That ain't gonna help us out. But hey, at least we got some fresh bearings and some nice asbestos lined brakes. Don't quite know how the leaf springs are gonna set up, but all right. Anywho, look at what we got here. We've got some pylons with studs buried in them. So at one time there used to be some sort of a processing building here. And by the looks of these really, really fine tailings that have been dumped out right here, it kind of almost looks like concrete from a mixing truck. But no, these are really fine tailings, and that was probably dumped here after they put that through a cyanide leaching process, and then when it was done leaching out, then they would dump the tailings right here. So looking up into this valley, so we've got, looks like a waste rock pile right there that I can see for right now. So okay, well, yeah, I suppose you guys probably want to see this over here. Here's those concrete pylons, what's left of them. And that's about it for this location. Yeah, so let's work our way up into these tailings, see what we can find up there. I'll meet you up there. All right, we're coming up on our first tailing pile here. Not a very big one. Let's see what we got. Well, that's interesting. Well, There's an adit that goes back there. But before we crawl underneath that, let's poke around over here real quick and choose our battles. What do we got over here? Okay, you've got a shaft, and wouldn't make no use in shining my flashlight down there, folks, for you to see. It goes maybe 40 feet, and that's it. And the bottom is filled with old timbers and such. So let's work up here. Take a look at the upper part of this adit. I'm seeing, boy, the geology here is really cool. We've got breccia laying around. There's some pegmatites, hydrothermal and pegmatite. Oh yeah, I can see why they were interested in this. What do we got over here? Aha. Almost looks like the upper part of an open stope. Interesting. Okay. See where they're working that vein right there? All right, let's keep going. What's up here? They were doing a little bit more exploratory, trying to chase the vein. See, right there, it's about a foot wide, chasing that vein across. Yeah, lo and behold, looks like we've got a possible incline shaft over here. Let's take a look at this one. Oh yeah. Whoa, look at how steep that puppy is. All right, let's get around here. Oh, darn it, she's all choked off. Is there any way through? Not really. Yeah. That ain't no 45 degrees, folks. I know most incline shafts are built at a 45 degree angle. If that's 45 degrees, I'll buy you breakfast. I'm just looking at it real close here because sometimes, even though the collar is busted, you can squeeze in along the side, but this isn't looking good at all. It's all collapsed right down in there. I don't think we're getting in this one. And let's take a quick look at the size of the waste rock pile. Even if we could, would it have been worth it? No. Look at here. See? Look at the size of the pile. There isn't more. There's only a few hundred yards of waste rock here. So again, it's like that other one. Maybe goes down 40 feet and then stops. Okay, take a look at this. You see that down there? There is a stone ring in the bottom. Oh, and a mule deer. There's a desert muley running around down there. It looks like a doe. But yeah, I don't know who scared each other more, her or me. Anyways, look at this. Look at this stone ring down there. Wonder who built that. Is that something Native American? Not sure. Interesting, but not really seeing anything over on this side of the mountain yet. So, but I'm going to keep skirting all the way around it. I can see what they were after. See, look here. From the, look at how that quartz is just intertwined all the way through this rock. That's what they were going after. And right here is a vein running that direction. This is a little prospect. The incline shaft is right above us. So definitely right in this area. So Okay, I'm gonna keep scratching around. So here's looking back at that waste rock pile with the first adit we discovered for today. And then right down there were those pylons and that axle. And see, now let me show you folks. This is the reason why you have to scratch around in an area for a while, because you just never know what you're gonna find. Now look at what we have here. Somebody made a path. Here's a walking path. See how they stacked up the rocks right here? Keep on walking. Yeah. See how they stack the rocks up? There's some exterior gobbing right up there. And look what we've got on top. Oh, isn't that a lovely sight? With a nice big waste rock pile going all the way down this draw here. Fantastic. All right, I'll meet up with you up there. All right, let's all experience this together for the first time. What do we have here? Very cool. Boy, I get excited when I find a new mine, huh? Heck yeah. Cool. All right. Well, no sense in walking in there with this camera. We got to switch out and gear up and do as we always do. Get out the flag. Now, I wouldn't say that's a. I've seen bigger waste rock piles, that's for sure, but you know, that's pretty good size. It's got to go in a little ways. Okay, well, let's gear up and I'll meet you guys inside. See you in a minute. Okay, let's explore this old mine. So even before we get in there, let's take a look at what got those miners interested right here at the portal. You see this vein running here? Right there. It's about 10 inches right there. It gets a little bit bigger up in there. That's why they kind of started going after it up in this stope. So you know, it's probably about I don't know, 50, 60 degrees, somewhere in there. And that's what they were chasing after. So I'd imagine what we're going to find when we get up in here is probably some stoped out areas. And maybe even we do got a bit of a collapse right here. Ooh, this is sketchy looking. Wow. Look at this big boulder right here just come plop right down. Kind of like where we're standing right here. All right, let's look back up in there behind that big boulder. Oh, wouldn't you know it, folks? Darn it. That is it. Let me shoot up in there for you. That is as far as it goes. So no sense in risking life and limb past this gigantic boulder, because there's a whole bunch of other hangars above our head. But you can see the vein here. I mean, right here where it's 5 feet, 6 feet across at least. Not enough values in it to keep on going. Okay, well, let's work our way out of here. Okay, well, that's the end of this one. Short and sweet. let's work our way back down the hill and get to that other adit that we found when we first came into this location. I'll meet up with you down there. So if you're a miner, well, at the end of the day, you need a place to sleep, rest your head. So check this out. Just off the path, the fellers made this wall right here. Look at. Built the wall, filled it in. Okay, it used to stretch out a little bit further this way, but erosion got to it, and built himself a little fire pit here. Okay, cook up a can of beans, enough of an area to, you know, lay your bedroll out, call it a night, sleep out under the stars until you can mine another day. So that's really all you needed. Just a little place to make a bed and cook up a can of beans. All right, let's continue on down to that lower adit, and I'll meet you down there. All right, well, we're back down to that lower adit where we began today. So let's work our way into this one and see what it's all about. Now, you know, guys, I do not recon these areas before I come to them, because I feel as though, I mean, my opinion, it just kind of takes some of the excitement away. I prefer that you and I we're all kind of experience it together for the first time, and it makes it fun for me and for you. So, you know, like this, we may get into an area and there's not much to it. It's just exploratory. You never know. But we've got an incline. We'll call it an incline shaft, but an incline something or another. And let's go this way first. All right. Now, keeping an eye out for poison sticks. You guys know what poison sticks are. That's right, rattlesnakes. They're out. Gotta be mindful of them. What do we got up in here? So, okay. Now, before we crawl in further, there's some folks out there that do enjoy the geology. Let me turn the big bright light off. See those crystals there? You see how they're intertwined and crisscrossing all over the place? All right, that is hydrothermal pegmatite. That's what you got going on there. And as we get up here a little bit more, there's even more of it. Oh, and somebody was in here chipping away. See that? Yeah, they were chipping away here, fresh chippings. And if we look above our heads, they were chipping up into that little hole there. And here you can see, let's get in on it a little bit. I'll turn the bright light off. See all those crystals? Now, let me real quickly explain something about hydrothermal and how gold precipitates throughout a hydrothermal vein. Now, I was always taught that the optimum precipitation point of gold within a hydrothermal structure is between 340 degrees Celsius to 400 degrees Celsius, within that range. Now, if you get lower temperatures than that, the crystals, from what I've taught, will start to grow larger. You'll see larger crystals within the structure. And Now, whether it's true or not, everybody says something different that I've talked to over the years. But if you start to see really, really large crystals like VOG within your quartz vein, chances are that the yield of gold in that particular structure isn't going to be as good because it was at the wrong temperature. What you're looking for is maybe something more like like up here. Okay, you're not seeing them real big VOG-like crystals. It's more condensed. I'm seeing what looks to be some silver sulfides. There's definitely sulfides running in the rock. Look, you can see the sulfides right here coming out. There's some right there. Let's try a different light here. There's some right there. See the coloring? And over here, running along. So, you know, it's probably running through this vein. Who knows what how good it could really be, but that's what I was taught from my geology classes over the years. So, all right, well, let's work our way back over here to this incline thing. Let's see what that's all about. Excuse me, I took a drink of water. Now I'm burping into the microphone. That ain't cool. All right, hold on. I gotta get past this board here. There we go. Okay. Now. Oh yeah, we can get down into this. This ain't much steeper than that last one we were at. What did we call that one? Bat guano heaven? Oh my gosh. It took my lungs 2 days to heal up after breathing in that. Felt like I had walking pneumonia, for crying out loud. Alright, what do we got down in here? And that is it, folks. That is as far as it goes. It pinches out right there. Darn. So they got in here and you know, did some exploratory. They definitely were blasting. There's a drill right there. Drill hole. They got in here and did some exploratory, but it just didn't quite pan out for them like they thought it would. All right. Well, let's work our way back out of here. We still have quite a lot of day left in front of us. So let's work our way back down to Old Bob. And there is another mine in the area. We'll try to get over to him and explore that area before the end of the day. Well, here we are. We're back up on that saddle overlooking Old Bob. And I'm just kind of looking at this situation, saying to myself, yeah, it's a good thing that I didn't beat the crap out of him trying to get up here. Turns out all it was in my opinion, just some exploratory adits and prospects. Nothing too significant, unfortunately. But that's one of 3 that we're going to go to today. So we're going to climb back down this hill, get to Old Bob, and head on off to number 2. We still got plenty of day in front of us. So I'll meet you at adit number 2. See you there. All right, folks. Well, we got to site number 2, and unfortunately, the BLM cabled the wash and turned it into a no motorized vehicles area. And I really didn't feel like hiking back in it. It was at least 1 mile to get to that location. But the waste rock pile up in there was only a little over 1,300 square feet. So more than likely it was going to be another exploratory adit, very similar to what we just got done exploring. So I chalked that one off and headed off to site number 3, which turns out is gonna be another incline shaft here. Check that out. Now it looks as though at one time they did have a collar around it, but now that's all fallen down into it. The waste rock pile here is pretty good size, and they have a bunch of railroad ties here stacked off to the side. So once we get down in there, that we may find some there may be some timbering, but yeah, I mean, this pile of waste rock is about a little over half the size of the one of the incline shaft we went down into last weekend, where we saw the desert tortoise. So it might just be something interesting. So let's gear up and we'll head down into that incline shaft right there. I'll meet up with you folks in a minute. Okay, so it's kind of steep right here. Let me try to get past all of this debris and at least down to that point right down there, and I'll meet up with you folks as soon as I get to about that location. All right, see you down there. Okay, so we got down just a little bit further here, and let's try to get to a place where I can. There we go. Pretty crumbly here. All right, so before we go down into that, let's look off to the left here. So they worked that vein a little bit off to the left, but that's as far as it goes, as you can see right there. And now let's try to get into the bottom of this. While at the same time watching out for critters. Well, I tell you, those darn things, I don't care if it's a tortoise or a rattlesnake, they're all really camouflaged. And of course I got my eyeballs on everything else that could poke me or whatever. So when you got a big fat tortoise that more or less looks like a rock, that's why I didn't even see it. And everybody in the audience said, hey, what if that would have been a rattlesnake? Well, okay, I'm glad it wasn't. All right. Slowly but surely working down here. It's kind of a pretty steep angle. Okay, I'm gonna have to jump. 1 second. There we go. We got a drift going off to the right and something here going straight and a drift going off to the left. So, let's look down here first. See, look at there, more party balloons or pieces of. Right there. More party balloons. I guess pack rats love that silver looking stuff, huh? All right, what do we got down in here? That is it. She just goes up and pinches out. Darn it. Someone brought in some perforated leach field pipe. But let me look one more time just to make sure. Yeah. Yep, that just pinches out, and that's the end of it. Okay. So let's work over here. Let's see what we got. This little drift level. Let's see what they were up to in here. Oh yeah. Kind of work this vein out here. And what do we got over here? Timber's holding up a big board. And I can see that's where it ends with an old Pepsi Pop Top can down in there. And that's it. Okay. All right. Turning back around. Well, here's a garbage can. So somebody was down in here working probably in the 70s or 80s. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Garbage can and what's left of an old Campbell's soup can. And that's it. But, all right, look at the vein from this angle, folks. Turn the light off. There you go. Check that out. That's what got him interested. They're working that whole thing, and right through that section there, it's 4 feet. Okay. Cool. Well, let's see if this maybe this drift level continues on. That would be cool. That's some old canvas or something here laying on the floor. Bunch of old tin. Oh yeah, see how they just worked this level all the way across. Bunch of old tin laying on the floor. Oh, we got some gobbing here. What they would do is, yeah, that's called gobbing. So they would hand stack those rocks like that, and then rather than haul the waste rock out of the mine, they just dump it in and backfill them behind the gobbing. Oh, we got a little bit of a drift right up in here. Now, they just explored a little bit further into that vein. Okay. And you see it off to my right. They were chipping away. Chipping away up into that, made a little hole up into the vein there. Kind of getting a sample. All right. Here they were doing it again. Yeah, there's been people up in here, probably 70s and 80s, scratching around. And a much bigger stoped out area here. Here we go. I can actually stand up. That's about it. This room's 12 feet wide, 20 feet tall, and they got interested down in here. Come on, the laser. There we go. There's a borehole right there, and I'm seeing some pickaxe marks down along the bottom there. See those pickaxe marks? There's a nail that drove in there. So, well, I wonder what kind of values they were finding in this location. All right, let's turn back around and look out. Look where we came from. So what do we got here? Well, they worked the vein down to about this level, and then they just drifted it out left and right, kind of probing along, looking for where the values would get higher, etc. That's what was going on here. So I'm going to work my way back out to the incline, and if I see something neat along the way, I'll hit record, I promise. All right, back again, folks. I thought it would be fun if I kind of left the camera on as we worked our way back out of here. And it gives you an idea of the terrain and how ugly this is. Okay, there we go. Yeah, at one time there probably was a collar of some sort in here, but it's all busted up and destroyed now. Ooh, lots of nails. Nails hanging all over the place. Hope we got our tetanus shots. Everybody out there got their tetanus shot? That's right. Yep, I got mine. Oh, there we go. Well, not as extensive as the mine with the tortoise, but kind of cool nevertheless. All right, folks, we're back outside, and it looks like that's going to be the end for today's mines. I'm kind of happy though we got to explore the entire west side of this mountain range. No, we didn't get to go to that one that was further back in beyond where the BLM put the cable across the wash. But like I said, that was probably just another exploratory, nothing too significant. But hey, we got to see some cool geology today. That pegmatite was pretty cool, and you could see where they were chiseling into some of that pegmatite and that hydrothermal vein. Makes you wonder if they found anything when they were down in there. Oh, by the way, remember last weekend the incline shaft with the tortoise in it, and I said probably near the end of the video, I couldn't quite figure out why they dropped that incline shaft on an angle away from the mountain rather than towards the mountain to the vein, to the bottom of the vein that they were going after. I figured it out, did a little research, and it's no different than like what you're looking at right here. When you put in an incline shaft, you want to do it with the direction of the rock. Okay, it's called the tertiary grade, and as you're seeing, like right here, the tertiary grade is going this way down in the mountain. Okay, and that is the direction that you're going to want to drop your incline shaft, because when you're blasting down in there, you don't want to be going against the grain, because if you're going against the grain, you're going to end up with all this loose and jagged rock, which means you're going to have a higher probability of having to support the back of the mine with timbering, or the ribs with timbering, because you're going against the grain. And in that situation over there at the tortoise mine, that's what happened. The grain unfortunately went away from the mountain. That's why they went all the way down, and then they had to turn that sharp 90-degree angle and work right back up towards the mountain again. So that was the answer. Figured it out. Pretty cool. So hey, we're gonna get on out of here. I guess it's time to get old Bob a new pair of shoes. Yeah. Before our next adventure. So hey, don't forget, share this with all your friends, like, share, and subscribe. And as I said before, hey, the website's up and running. We got some cool coffee mugs on there. I'm kind of putting together, as you can see, like a collector series, so you can collect each episode. Every single episode will have a different image on it, the same image that's displayed on YouTube. So if you like the Tortoise Mine one, well, hey, you can get a coffee cup with that image on it. If you like premiere episode, you can get a coffee cup with that image on it. So I thought that would be kind of cool to do it that way. So yeah, all right, well, I appreciate you going out with me for another explore. And I guess, boy, it's time to jump back into the maps because I'm tired of doing these little mines. We got to find a big one. Got to find a big one, even if I have to drive a few hundred miles. All right, folks. See you next week. Appreciate you coming along. Thank you so much. Take care.